Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Boys and girls, we are on. What the hell day are we on? Are we on a Thursday? I'm losing days of the week. We are on a Thursday. It is just close to the end of the work week. For some, because of the holidays, they're already done. Not this kid. I'm not privileged like that. I am working until Christmas Eve, but we are on Christmas Eve. And look who we have to. This is the last one of 2020. This is the very last STP before I kind of take a little break myself. And boys and girls, look who we have. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid. And my very special guest, a guy I've been waiting to talk to for a long time. My very special guest, the mind eraser, Mike Graça. Thank you so much for joining STP, my friend.
Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor.
I'm sorry I'm all amped up. It's the end of the work week. Christmas is right around the corner. And holy shit, we've got the mind eraser right here on Stirring the Pot. Holy crap. I was so stoked when I heard the word or saw the word, yes, let's do this. The words, yes, let's do this, because I have followed you for a little bit. A couple years previous, during the Chop Shop 2 days, if you will. And your character, your persona, your gimmick, if you will, really caught my eye right off the ripper. It was the mask, it's the coat, it's the whole thing you're giving us. It's the beautiful look. You've got that green hair. I mean, come on. Your character drew me as a fan, and I've kind of followed Mr. Graça for a little bit. But then we'll get into this later. You kind of took a little hiatus, but my man has returned to the wrestling scene. And I'm like, I got to hit me up, Mr. Graça. And it just happens to be the last one of 2021. And I know I've been yammering a little bit here. That's because I'm quite excited. And it is what it is, boys and girls. You know I can get going. But Mr. Graça, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule, your life, the holidays right now, spending the time, because this show is not about me. This is about the fans. This isn't my show. This is the fans' show. We get to know the talent, dig a little deeper, pull the curtain back if you let us. And we just like to have fun on Stirring the Pot. So I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the show.
Absolutely. I've got a million probably a trillion things to ask you. So I'm just going to kind of start right off the ripper. It's been a while. I kind of was speaking upon that before we hit the record button. It has been a while since I've seen you. It's good to see you back on the wrestling scene. How's Mr. Graça feeling?
Wrestling-wise or personal life-wise?
All of it together, because sometimes it coincides and I know sometimes it separates. So whatever you want to give us, because like I said, we pull the curtain back only as deep as you allow us to, because we don't want to go too deep into the personal stuff if you don't want us to. So whatever you're comfortable with, my friend, the platform is yours.
All right. Well, wrestling-wise, things are actually looking up quite a bit. I have a few things on the horizon that are very, very intriguing. I know my problem before I left wrestling initially was keeping the two lives separate. Now I've pretty much mastered that. I can keep my personal life separate from wrestling, and both are doing pretty well now. And I'm in a good place. Well,
you know what? That's going to be the title of this episode. I like to name every episode differently for their own flavor. I'm in a good place. I think that's a very perfect title. If you don't mind, that would be absolutely perfect. Because look at that smile, boys and girls. That's what we like to see. When the talents take a hiatus, we don't know what's going on. We don't want to dive into those personal feelings and such. We shouldn't. Some like to cross that line. I would never. I don't like to do that kind of stuff. Some do like to kind of jump that fence, if you will. But I am so glad to hear that both the wrestling and the personal life are doing well. And on top of that, you found a way to balance both in a healthy way, because it's very hard to accomplish.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, but now things are looking good.
I was speaking of your hiatus. It's kind of one of the bigger topics that I've really wanted to speak with you upon when you agreed to do the interview. Could we speak about that a little bit? Because my curiosity has got me going here.
Of course, of course.
Oh, excellent. The beautiful smile. You've got that beautiful green hair that I remember. I've seen you back in the ring with some pictures and some stuff. I see you've got the mask and the whole thing still kicking. You seem to be in a good place. You're having fun in the ring. Is that correct I'm saying right now?
Yes, that's the most important thing. That's the reason I came back, is to have fun.
Yes. Was the mix of the personal life and the wrestling life just a little too much for you to handle and you had to step away and figure things out? Is that what was going on with the hiatus?
Well, initially, I had stopped wrestling because I was an apprentice to be a tattoo artist, and I was soon to be getting my license.
Okay.
And wrestling really just wasn't that fun anymore. If I'm being honest, I wasn't in love with it the way that I was. A lot of other really personal things that happened, like piled on top of each other, to the point where I wanted to focus on tattooing and nothing else.
Got you. I did see when you started that you dove right in, like head first. You were all about it. I see some of your friends and such were getting a little bit of Mike Graça on their skin, and I'm like, look at this guy go. So you really kind of embraced it and went with it. Are you still tattooing today?
No, I'm not licensed anymore. No. So yeah, that another totally different story happened with that.
Okay. Again, we don't want to go too deep, but if you allow us, you never know. So you kind of take a break because you want to focus on something specific, but something specific kind of isn't in your life right now. But now you've kind of turned around your focus and you're like, I can do both. I'm going to figure a way out because I love me some wrestling, because obviously you're still a wrestling fan, because if you weren't a wrestling fan, you wouldn't want that passion. You wouldn't have that passion to come back. Is that correct I'm saying?
Very correct. Very, very correct.
So let's kind of talk about that so we don't stay on this hiatus thing too much, because that could get shaky, right, my friend?
All good, man.
The fandom from Mike Graça, I don't know where the hell your inspiration comes from, because my guy is like his own entity, if you will, when he comes through that curtain. Please talk to us about your fandom of wrestling and coming up. Where does it come from? Mine comes from my pop, kind of, doing the TV thing back in the day when you had the two dials to turn. I mean, we're talking 70s action. That's just aging myself, if you will.
Yeah.
But going to my very first live event, I'll never forget it. It was 8 years old. So that's pretty much my experience in a nutshell. Where does your fandom come from?
All right. So basically, popped out of the womb a wrestling fan. My parents loved, still are fans to this day. My dad was also a referee for a while.
Get out of here! Come on.
He refed for Beyond, Limitless, all the big companies.
Oh wow.
In the area. Yeah. I mean, it all started with them. I grew up a huge wrestling fan. I didn't care about anything else but wrestling as a kid. I got in a lot of trouble because of it. But,
of course.
Yeah. I mean, if I could say my number one inspiration, obviously The Undertaker.
Okay.
And then I got really into like punk music and heavy metal and stuff like that. So that's where the hair, the tattoos, the gauges, everything like that came from. And yeah, I mean, you say I have a presence, and that's always been my number one goal, is to be completely unique, different than anything else you will see on a, and that's what I bring to the table. Yeah.
And you definitely said it, man. You do bring that to the table, because from the first time I saw you coming out through the curtain, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I got to see more of this guy. Where's he been? How come I don't know him? Where have I been? Because, I mean, I haven't really been in the scene too long. Maybe, I don't know, 5 years, approximately a smidge more. And I know a lot of the talent that I've been able to gain relationships and network with and friendships outside of the ring. Some of them have been in the business for a while, and I know jack about their history. And I'm just kind of diving right in at, said point being 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
So when I first saw you, I'm like, wow, I got to see more of this guy. But I live 2 hours away, my man. And I'm taking the travels up to there to see some of that talent up in Rhode Island that I started latching onto at the Chop Shop too. And I missed that place dearly. It was a very unique atmosphere. We're going to get into that as well. But yeah, your presence really grasped me as a fan, and it does others that I've even spoke with on the side. And that's the hardest thing. And I speak about this topic on the show a lot. It's hard to come out into an environment where people don't know you, and you have to bring them in and make that connection. With what you're doing, do you find that difficult at all to kind of really get us on board with that?
At times, I mean, I've had to do it a lot, and I've been doing this since 2011 now. So, yeah, I've had to do it quite a bit where I go to a place and nobody knows me. I pop through that curtain, immediately they're going to see the green hair and be like, whoa, this guy is probably crazy. Then they see the mask and the coat, and yeah, somebody be like, oh, that dude's probably cool. So that's where I get them usually. But it can be hard to relate to, but at the same time, I'm pretty cool. So
because everybody has their own unique flavor. As we speak of Mr. Graça, that metal, that punk flavor. You spoke of the Undertaker. You're kind of mashing some stuff together in your brain, and you're like, this is what my vision is, and I applaud you so much for doing that and trying to stand out, because I always say it probably every single interview, in my opinion, that it's probably one of the hardest things to be in the universe is a singles wrestler. It's got to be just so hard with everything that it takes to become such. The character itself, obviously, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but is there anything behind this mind eraser? Is there a backstory to it or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean,
look at that smile, boys and girls. I don't see that at the shows. Look at how beautiful that smile is.
So, the whole origin of the Mighty Eraser character starts in, I'd probably say, 2013. My home promotion, RWA, I had gotten a pretty bad concussion, and I had to take a few months off. And my memory was kind of shot. So it made me think. I was like, wait, this kind of sucks. Maybe if I come back, maybe I make people feel the same way I do. Maybe I can erase some minds. And I was like, ooh, mind eraser. I know it's a roller coaster at Six Flags, but I don't. So my Graça kind of it clicks. So I went along with that, and from then on, it kind of just matured into this escape mental patient turned serial killer type thing, and all my interests are just dumped into this character, and I love it.
And as I speak with the talent on this show, I get that a lot, and you could see it even back in the day in the history of wrestling. Taking yourself, your persona, and just juicing it up big time for wrestling. Usually become some of the best characters ever that people latch onto in wrestling. So that seems to be the case right here. You've taken your interests. Maybe you're not so crazy upstairs because you got a beautiful, you know what? Beautiful smiles are always a little, you know what? Erase that. You never, but taking your own persona, your own interests and gathering it to make this character, because obviously, like I've talked to talent that have, a very, I'm not going to say generic, but they have a very professional look. They have the gear that they put money into. They have, maybe their merchandise and stuff, but there's no gimmick, if you will, put into it. So it's themselves, but then, they juice it up for wrestling. Where some of the guys, you being included here, you've taken that same thing, but created a character and really juiced it up for wrestling. Yeah, like you've already spoken of the Undertaker. Within wrestling, is there any other interest? Because maybe there's a Cactus Jack that you've got in your head rolling around, or any other guys that really stood out to you to, kind of give you some of that inspiration for this?
So right when I started training in 2011, I had stumbled on independent wrestling. So I didn't had no knowledge of independent wrestling before then, and
Okay.
one of the first people I stumbled upon was Delirious from Ring of Honor.
Lucky you.
Ooh, man, I think my number one dream match, not gonna lie, is Delirious. Delirious, like Ultramantis Black, I am a huge fan of. I've always wanted to work with him as well. I know he's been doing some stuff around Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've taken little bits and pieces from a lot of places, and I've had a lot of like little inspirations here and there, and it all comes to me.
So you mentioned 2011 was the start. 2013, the Mind Eraser was pretty much born.
Yes.
Please take us back to the beginning, because I always love to hear the look. Look at that smile already, boys and girls. He's like, you son of a bitch. Because we talk like the example that I always use, because it just tickles me so much, is when Kane, way back when, he was this Christmas creature. I don't know if you're aware of this. See, I love that. That Christmas creature just tickles me. Take us back to the first gimmick, if you will, and the transition into the Mind Eraser and why it became that.
All right. So when I started training in 2011, I was a backyard wrestler beforehand and really didn't know anything, but I just used my name from backyard wrestling, which was Mr. Awesome Mike Graça, and yeah, I kind of ran with that. I was this kind of like just the super athletic soccer player, like dude from Portugal that I just used my family's heritage and brought it into wrestling as well. So,
okay.
And then, yeah, my dad was my manager. He was Marvelous Manny Souza. He was my Portuguese lawyer. Yeah.
Oh, you're a Portuguese lawyer? Come on.
Yeah.
Now that's pretty funny, right there.
Funny, really, really funny promos and some really good times. I got to work with my dad too. He just for a match with me, which was amazing.
Yeah. Could we just pause right there real quick? We're at the Mr. Awesome, Mr. Awesome Graça. Is that what it was?
Mr. Awesome Mike Graça. Yeah, I've always had actual name.
Okay. Just pause right there real quick. Working in wrestling with a relative, especially immediate relative, as such as your dad, could you talk to us a little bit about that? Because us fans would have no clue how that is. I mean, was it a pain in the ass because it's your dad and trying to correct you on everything, or was it just really cool because he was trying to, let you kind of take the reins and see what you could come up with?
Yeah, it was 50-50 on that front. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, he's still my dad, and he wants the best for me. But at the same time, he's going to try to correct everything that I do. But it was probably one of the best experiences I've had with him.
Nice.
As a
That's
father,
awesome.
like relationship. It was a great time, and I'm really happy that it happened.
And look what it was that brought you to that memory, if you will, is wrestling. It does so many different things for so many different people, my friend. Okay, so you're there with your dad, you do that stuff. Let's move forward into transitioning into the Mind Eraser.
So from then, I was a super duper transitioned into babyface role and from then I became like a huge fan favorite. Went to the top of the card.
Okay.
Was booked as such, and then I got hurt. I got the concussion, and I had to take time off, and kind of went crazy.
All right, now, when the athletes, performers, when they get hurt, it really, obviously, it's physical pain, but it really hits upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
And I speak so much, again, probably every single interview. I may sound repetitive on these topics, but I always like to get the perspective from each talent on some of these specific topics that I speak of, because I don't hear a lot of these topics being spoke of. The mental and the physical, it's both got to jive together for everything to work, to get in that ring, to be safe for yourself, to be safe for your opponent, to be safe to your peers around you and such. But when you got injured, obviously it was a head concussion, which has got to really, really mess with somebody, because now everything just changes personally and, like in wrestling. Could you just take us through a little bit of that without getting too into it, if that's okay with you?
No, it's totally fine. I mean,
Okay.
I got a pretty dark place and I gained a bunch of weight. I just wasn't right mentally, and the doctors were like, "You probably shouldn't wrestle again. You probably shouldn't wrestle." Because I played football 10 years before I even started wrestling. I started wrestling like I was still in high school, my senior year, and I had just stopped football like 2 or 3 months prior. So I went straight from football right into wrestling, and
no stopping for Mr. Graça.
No, I didn't want to. So yeah, I mean, I was in a pretty dark spot mentally, and I can say wrestling is the thing that saved me from that.
Was it going to shows? Was it watching footage? Was it your peers? I mean, where are we at with that? Because it takes so much to get out of that spot that you're in. It's easy to get there, but it's hard to get out of that.
Yeah, it was probably going to shows and the rehab going as well as it was going, and I had that motivation to get back. So that was very important and key to me actually coming back and performing at the level that I was performing at.
And that was quite a level, because actually I wanted to start this whole evening with one memory that I have as a fan, and I have a few with you, but there was one specific memory that I have as a fan that I kind of already threw at you earlier. Excuse me. We're at the Chop Shop 2. Now, boys and girls, we'll get into the Chop Shop 2 because of its unique environment. But it was very raw, because it was in this gigantic, and when I mean gigantic, the very first time I ever went there was like a fucking horror movie, like a horror scene out of a movie. It was at night. I was with my nephew, and we had no clue where we're going, and it was a 2-hour ride. And the first time you go there, you do not want to go there when it's pitch black at night. It's the worst thing, because it's the craziest place. So we finally get there, but it's in the bottom floor of this huge, like, couple city block, it seems. Yeah. One gigantic old industrial building, and you walk into the connection in the back, and you just walk in the door, walk down a hallway, walk down another hallway. You take a right, and you see this long hallway. And out of nowhere is a room with wrestling. You build it, they will come. And no shit, that's what that place was.
Yeah.
But it's all concrete. It's weathered. When it's inclement, like you can feel it. But when it's hot, holy shit, is it crazy in that place. But it was very raw and organic, and that was the best thing about the Chop Shop 2 that I enjoyed as a fan. I didn't care about the weather. We went there and we had a lot of fun no matter what. But you had like these, say bathrooms, if you will, built to the left, or offices, and then maybe built to the back. And here's Mr. Graça, and I can't remember your opponent, because all I envision is Mr. Graça jumping off the top of this thing, climbs up a ladder. Well, there had to be. Now, the Chop Shop holds. The seating is probably about 60 seats, maybe 70 seats. But this was for like a legacy or something for RWA, maybe 2018. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could I go on a limb on that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, man. My brain's way. Wow, look at that, boys and girls. I remembered some shit. And here's Mr. Graça. He's climbing up to the top. Now, like I said, there's only about 60, 70 chairs at best. There had to be over 120 people, standing room only. This place was slam packed. And Mr. Graça climbs up, and we are all just watching. What the hell is this guy going to do? He gets up to the top, and he just jumps down on his opponent. There's a table. There's a whole thing. The crowd loses their mind. And I believe, and I'm going to go out on another limb, is that the last time you wrestled?
That was the last time I wrestled. Yeah, July 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my last match. Yeah.
I said a lot there, and I think I spent about 4 minutes without maybe taking 2 breaths. But that's what wrestling does to me, Mr. Graça. I just get all excited because we bring home these memories and all of these things, and we meet the talent, and they give us, you guys and girls give us your time, and we leave with great experiences. And that was one of my biggest impacts that I've ever seen with Mr. Graça, and that happened to be your last one before you took this hiatus. Now, could you, again, because we're only fans, if it's okay, though, could you talk to us about kind of going through, this is my last, I've got this all scheduled out in my life. This is it for me. You already had that set. You knew that going in. Could you kind of talk us through that day just a little bit, possibly? Because I know there's a lot going on, waking up, if at all, if you slept. And then getting to the venue, having your match, the drive home, being like, holy shit, man, like this is it for a while, or whatever you've got going on. Could you just talk to us a little bit about that day, if that's all right?
Yeah. I mean, so I didn't sleep the night before. You were right about that. Because that's like wrestling is all that I had, all that I really cared about at up until that point, until I had tattooing and whatever else was going on in my life, obviously. But I mean, it was rough, but at the same time, I knew it had to be done in my mind at that time, at that present moment. I remember going to the venue and talking to Nick Marchand was my opponent.
Oh, okay.
And talking with him, saying that we're going to do a lot of stupid things tonight, and I hope and being very, very coy about it. But I mean, I knew that I had to leave everything that I possibly could out there without leaving with any regrets. And I feel I did that, but at the same time, 2 months later, I was like, I have to come back. But I was in a situation where I couldn't. I just couldn't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, driving to the venue, we were talking about all this crazy stuff that we wanted to do. I had thumbtacks. I had tables. I had all this stuff, and I was like, we're doing everything. And wrestled the match. I cried like a baby after the match. Like a little baby in its crib. I cried. I broke my foot because of that fall. Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit.
I fractured the whole outside of my left foot with the because my foot landed sideways on the pavement when I landed. Yeah. So I was also concerned about that because I took off my wrestling boot and my foot blew up to the size of a softball, and I barely even put my shoe on, and my girlfriend at the time was very not happy about it because it's the last one and you're getting hurt. And I was like, I guess so. This is how I go out. So, yeah. That is so.
Wow. So you had a lot on your plate leaving and doing this hiatus. Yeah. So you had a little extra on your, a lot of extra on your plate because of the broken bones. Boys and girls, they say don't do this at home.
Exactly.
This is living proof right here. Living proof that my man wanted to go out in a ball of flames, and son of a bitch, he brought the whole kitty litter. We were talking tacks, we're talking ladders, there was tables, there's all sorts of stuff going. There's broken bones. That wasn't in the plan, but that kind of came in. Sorry to hear that. I did not mean to laugh at your demise.
No,
holy cow.
It was funny.
But I do speak of the multiple art forms of wrestling and hardcore, the death matches. There's multiple forms here that comes to the table of wrestling. And I know that you are not afraid to, as you have spoken, not afraid to jump into said other forms of art forms of wrestling. My question has always been this to the talent that do dabble in the hardcore stuff. And it's pretty much one word. And if I may ask, why? Why would you do this to your body, to your brain, to your physical being? Why, sir? Why, sir?
Why? I mean, the adrenaline rush that wrestling gives you is absolutely insane, and that's just wrestling. But
Okay.
add all of these elements and the reactions that are elicited from the crowd, and just the adrenaline rush goes from here to like here, and that's absolutely insane. So that's why that answers the question. Yeah.
I didn't mean to scream at you. I got a little carried away. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Not this kid. Hell no. I'm built like a candle, sir. That's the whole thing. I am built like a candle, my man. I mean, holy cow. I would never do the stuff that you do. And that's why wrestling, I think, grasps me so much, because I see the talent do what they do in there, and it has to, the personal, the wrestling, two different lives, make it work and make a living for your family out of this. A lot of that's what these boys and girls are striving to do. Some have, some haven't. There's those sacrifices. There's those bumps in the road. Sometimes there's blockades that you really got to climb and jump over. Sometimes there's a lot of things to get to that livelihood stage in wrestling. And that's, I think it grasps me more than the awe, I would have to say, of the athletics of what you guys and girls do inside the ring. And I'm not talking about the more of the modern day flippy kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm talking even way back when, because Don Morocco's my guy. That's who I kind of put up there. If anybody has to, when I'm asked that question, and I never pick favorites who's your favorite band, what's your favorite song, all of that shit, I never have an answer. When it comes to wrestling, Don Morocco is my guy. But that's what I'm talking about. It's the athleticism. Take that away, and everything else outside of the ring that it takes, that you have to persevere, and the sacrifices and all of that. I think that's what I kind of latch on to more, for whatever reason, I don't know, but that's kind of been more of my interest, is a little bit. It's like, I'd have to say it's 40 in ring and 60 out ring %, if you will. I feel that for my personal self.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I just find it interesting. And it's not like I want to be busybody in people's lives, but the reason why I started doing interviews is because of Yusef 13. I don't know if you're aware of Yusef 13. He's one of the local talents out of Massachusetts, Kevin Landry's Combine. He inspired me to do the STPs because we were just kind of hanging out one day, just chit-chatting, and he kind of started talking about his own personal story. Talking about a broken back. The spine was all realigned and really not good. And the doctors are telling him, you're not going to walk. And, they were like, whatever you think you were going to do and inspire physically, that's probably not going to happen. He goes, well, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And they were like, absolutely not. That will never happen. This cat went and did it in about 1.5 years. So I just found that so damn inspirational, my friend. And I'm like, I've wanted to do some kind of interview stuff with the local talent that I've been able to start meeting, and maybe shine whatever little tiny spotlight that I could from my perspective. And that's what started it, was his story. So it wasn't a matter of getting in the talent's business. It was just to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. Like we were speaking of Mr. Graça, maybe taking the time off for a specific reason, but not getting too detailed and such. You guys and girls, my hat's off always to you, from a fan to a talent. And I think that's why a lot of the fans like that whole athletic part of it. That's a lot of, why it's a draw. But I don't know how you guys and girls do it. I really do. And I applaud every single one of you. And especially like you, Mr. Graça, you had to take a break, then you came back. You you look good, you sound good, you have a beautiful smile, you have that kick-ass green hair still going. So I applaud you for persevering and coming back.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot because it's been a journey, but I'm here. I'm ready to fuck shit up.
Oh my God, that I want to make that the new title. Holy cow. YouTube won't like that. I've done that before. They don't like that. Yeah. Now, coming back, what are the goals for Mr. Graça? Because obviously the Chop Shop 2 was around when you were, in the environment, in the scene at that time. And if we could, just for a couple minutes, let's talk about the Chop Shop 2, because I've spoken about its rawness, its organicness. It was like 6 or 7, 8 different promotions all hanging out under one umbrella and just having a lot of fun. Some of the talent was similar, but a lot of different talent was mixed up. Could you talk to us, the fans, and how you felt the vibe was over at Chop Shop 2?
So I only wrestled in the Chop Shop 2 for, I think it was 6 months.
Okay.
I had worked with RWA and a couple of other promotions that were under that umbrella in previous buildings like Chop Shop 1 and The Force. And yeah, the vibe has always been the same, though. Very, very gritty and raw and intimate with the surrounding the ring. And that's what made it special, was the intimacy of the workers and the product and the fans. And it was important, and it was a great time. And I mean, there's nothing like it, to be honest. It was a very unique experience.
Absolutely. When I first went there, and that brought me back. I've seen stuff from the Chop Shop 2. I've heard of it, and the footage and the pictures and stuff. But I never went there. And whenever I pulled the trigger and actually went, I was like, I gotta come back. And bro, I was doing 15 shows a month as a fan.
Yeah.
And I was going between Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And whenever the first time, and then I started making my return, dude, I was going there easily once, twice a month. And I'm like, I was having so much fun up there. And I know it's a niche crowd, if you will. A lot of the fans were familiar faces.
Yeah.
And sometimes when those bigger shows being the Legacy, holy shit, that place was just so electric. I've never, without a Legacy happening, I've never seen that many people there previous to that. And I was just mind blown, because when I got there, my connection to RWA at the time was Bob Rossi, because of the XWA. Me and Mr. Rossi were very, very, cool and everything. Hopefully we still are. I don't get to see the guy much. I know he's got a lot going on over there. But that was my connection. So when I got there, I go, holy shit, my man. I go, is this even legal? He goes, I don't know. I go, wow, this is fire, bro. He goes, we got a couple seats over there for you. And I asked him if, there were a couple front row way previous to the date, if there was a couple front row that I could purchase previous. And he goes, absolutely. But when I walked in the door, I was like, my seats have been eaten up already. Mr. Rossi took care of me. It was fantastic. I had such a great time at that Legacy. It was really, really cool, man.
Yeah, I mean,
but that was the environment, though. It was just, when it was hot, it was mother bleeping hot, man.
Yeah, it was. That's just how the place was, and fans still came. I mean,
yep.
They weathered.
And I know RICW and RWA's been doing some stuff. You've actually, if I'm not mistaken, you've been actually part of some of the RWA stuff, have you not?
I have. I have returned home. Yes.
How does it feel to return to home, my friend?
It's the best. I'm not gonna lie. I'm fun with my matters.
Now I do know a lot of the faces over there. And if I may, and I know this isn't about Mr. Graça. We like to focus on our talent, but we're just going to do a couple side notes, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
The first side note I would like to speak of is the Mighty Bosch with Sid Morgan. I love the Mighty Bosch to pieces. He has helped me through a very, very, very hard time with another side note I'm going to mention, which I hate speaking of, but I am going to mention it because it's part of the whole thing, is collectively their Buff Inc. being Too Buff and Buff Dad. They have been up my ass. Up my ass! They're going to love that. They have been all over me over at Battlefront Pro Wrestling at a Ludlow, Mass. Over the past couple events, and it's been a nightmare. Too Buff has put me in his what is now known as the Buff Clutch. It really sucks, and I'm not an athlete, and it really whacked my back and realigned my spine. I've been medically cleared, but it's taken me a while to like. It's been a nightmare, sir. Between trying to work, trying to sleep, but the Mighty Bosch, he's been behind me and helping me, and I cannot thank Mr. Bosch enough. I don't know where all of this is going because the last time that we were supposed to have a match, myself and Mighty Bosch. Yeah, me in the ring. Could you imagine that shit? Yeah, I never signed a contract. That was the whole thing, and I kept telling the company I never signed a contract. Okay, so said time came. I didn't want to buy wrestling gear. I would look like a complete fucking idiot in spandex. Are you kidding me? I'm built like a candle. I am not buying spandex. So I didn't know what to do. So kind of started tossing some ideas around, and I'm like, aha. Andy Kaufman had quite the unique look. I am just going to utilize what he did as a look and kind of make it my own. I put on my Tessa Strength hat. I got some white thermals, some white bottoms. I got some purple shorts. I got some low-cut chucks. And boy, did we go out in a ball of fury because Mighty Bosch, Sid Morgan, was right there behind me. That I thought. They blindsided him with their stupid-ass megaphone.
Oh.
Then they came in the ring. They threw me around. Ha! I got to smack Too Buff. That was amazing. I got to smack Too Buff. That was absolutely amazing. But then he really made me pay for it. And he put me back in that stupid ass thing, and they made me sign a contract. So I don't know where this is going.
Uh-oh. I
Now,
think I show up. Huh.
With all of that said, Mr. Graça, I was unconscious, and I'm making this known, and I haven't, but I'm gonna. They say I signed a contract. I just think it's a bunch of fucking scribbles because I was unconscious. So that doesn't even make it official still with this stupid contract signing. So I'm going to be pushing my agenda that there's still no official contract.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't mean to kind of focus on that, but I really had to put that out there because they are part of the RWA scene, and I've seen that there's some things going on over there. Specifically, Too Buff, John Steele, they're going to be going at it. And John Steele happened to be part of this whole melee on the last one. He is the one who came behind. Oh, no, that's what it was. See, my brain is scrambled. John Steele came from behind Bosch with his mask and that's what it was. Yes, it's a fuzzy thing. And that's it. And now you've got John Steele going against Too Buff. I could care less. I hope they both beat the piss out of each other and they can't walk for an easy month, maybe even longer, because February 13th is coming up or January 8th. I don't know what this whole crap is. I hope they beat the piss out of each other.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a good one.
I am so sorry. I just.
No worries, man. No worries.
It's still very fresh, very fresh.
Understandable. Completely understand.
Whew, let's get back to Mr. Graça. Coming back into wrestling, obviously you've come back home to RWA. Do you have anything else going on? Are you looking to branch out, spread your wings, get into any more promotions? What That's one question. Second question, what's the end goal here? Because when people take a hiatus, they don't really know what they want to do when they come back. Do you have an end game here? Are you looking for the dub or AEW or a livelihood for your family out of wrestling?
Honestly, at this point, I'm open to that, but at the same time, I'm not actively pushing towards that, if that makes sense.
No, I totally understand that.
I will say this now. I will put 100%, 150% of effort into wrestling and whatever is needed of me. But if I don't get signed, I'm not going to be completely butthurt. You know what I mean? So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay.
As long as I'm having a good time with my coworkers, and I'm good.
Yes. That's actually, I love to hear that, because it's not like you have a goal and I'm going to be all, I'm going to jump down a rabbit hole if I can't accomplish said goal or what have you. So I have come to hear that same message kind of in that answer right there, because it's like, you know what? I would love to. If it happens, that's cool. If it doesn't, that's cool too, because I'm still having fun. I love, the locker rooms that I've been part of, my peers and such. So your answer is actually becoming more frequent than it ever has in the past couple years that I've been doing these interviews.
Yeah, I mean, from me talking to other workers as well, it's been more of the same. Yeah.
Now the support. I love to talk about the support system, because we've talked about everything that it takes to become a wrestler and all of the sacrifices and everything, and et cetera, et cetera. The support system right now, for you to come back, you can't do it on your own. Could you speak a little bit about the support system behind the Mindy Racer? I can't believe you would have a support system with a moniker of the Mindy Racer. But please speak of the support system if you could.
It's mainly my family and
Okay.
T Phoenix, the guy who runs RWA, is the one who kind of talked me into coming back, and he's been a friend of mine since I was 17. I'm 28 now, so that's
Wow.
He's seen me grow up basically, and he's a very, very dear friend of mine, and he's helped me through a lot. My parents have been there since day one. My nephew is, again, another reason why I do this. That the reactions that little guy has elicited have been second, and it's great to see that excited look on his face. He gets so into it. It's amazing. That's all.
Yes. But that's what we love about wrestling, because obviously it was always, for the most part, geared for the kids coming up, in the 80s and such and whatnot. And because previous in the say the 50s, 60s, 70s, leading up to the 80s, it was a lot of adults, but then it transitioned. It was really geared and commercialized for the children, and it became that with the WWF at that time.
Yeah.
And then again, it kind of transitioned back over to more adults, if you will, or kids that are in their late teens, 20s, and up are still involved in watching wrestling. Dude, I just turned 51, and I'm as ridiculous as a freaking 10-year-old kid going to these shows. So I mean, it really affects everybody from all different walks of life, from all age ranges, and universally, wrestling is a spoken sport, a spoken entertainment, a spoken vibe, just a mood, if you will. You know what I'm saying? It's so universal, my man.
Yeah, wrestling's for everybody, man. Wrestling is absolutely for everybody, and like about it.
I think that might be the new title. Wrestling is universal. That's actually a good title. I think we might do that one, huh? That's a winner. Now, Mr. Graça, do you have any matches that you might have coming up that you'd like to kind of maybe privy us to?
Okay, so on January 8th, T Phoenix and I will be teaming up against Nick Marchand and Alessandro Russo, who have
Oh.
both been giving T a lot of trouble. And run-ins with Alessandro Russo as well. So we're gonna do what we do best, and that's shut them up. So yeah.
As JR would say, that's going to be a slobber knocker.
Yeah, when T and I come together, it's usually not a good time for the people on the other side of the ring. So
anything else you've got in the works here?
January 15th, I'm going to be in Peabody, Massachusetts for Proving Ground. They have their North Shore Rumble.
I love Proving Ground.
Going to be wrestling Mike Montero for the Proving Ground title.
Oh, shit! Oh, wait! Stop! Stop! Pahuse, right there, Pahuse. Love me some Proving Ground, Mr. Simonetti.
Yeah.
He was on STP. It was a Sunday morning, and I was running. Mr. Graça, I was a fucking asshole like last year or so because I was doing like 5, 6 in one day. These interviews, I was scheduling them an hour a piece, and my entire Saturdays and Sundays, I do 4, 5, or 6 of them, and I had somebody drop off at the noon slot, and Mr. Simonetti came in. And he legit signed the Proving Ground contract for IWTV right on STP. And I loved every second of it. It was so amazing. I could not have been so thankful. That's one, when you mentioned the Proving Ground. Number 2, you said you're going against Sammy Diaz is going to be so pissed I said this. The Ace, Mike Montero. Oh, for the championship. The big belt, if you will, in Proving Ground?
Yes.
Ooh, boys and girls, buckle your seats because that one is going to be something. Man, January 15th, I got to look at my schedule. Oh, man, Pippity?
Peabody, yeah. It's
Peabody. I always call it Pibbity. I don't know why. Not Pibbity. I'm going to have to maybe map out Pibbity because January 15th, you said?
Yes.
I got to look at that one. Not to take anything away from anything else on the itinerary here, but Mike Montero, Sammy Diaz, the Ace! Mike Montero, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell. Mike Montero versus Mike Graça for the belt. Oh my goodness, I want to see this shit live. Oh, yes. Okay.
Something.
I'm sorry I get excited. I'm very sorry. Is there anything else on Mr. Graça's schedule you can maybe privy us to?
Yeah, I mean, January 28th, I'll be in Fairfield, Maine for Pine State Pro.
Now, Pine State is a brand new promotion that has actually recently surfaced. Am I correct on saying that?
I think so. I mean, I've only wrestled for them one other time in October. I teamed with Smiley up there. Fit to be tied. My buddy Smiley.
But talk to us about that. And I know I don't want to keep you too long, but you mentioned that because I remember seeing that graphic from Pine State, yourself and Smiley. What a fucking team that must have been. I mean, come on. Talk to us a little bit about that. Who were your opponents? How was the chemistry with Smiley?
So Smiley and I've known Smiley since 2012. We kind of got like thrown together as a tag team in Beyond Wrestling. So we worked there for a little bit, and then we've branched out to wrestle at like Pro Wrestling Magic, and so we've been teaming for a while. And that was our first match back together in 3.5 years.
Oh wow!
It was like never even missed a beat. It was crazy. It was crazy to experience it.
Well, there's no way that with you two characters, there's not a name for the tag team. What is the name of the tag team?
Fit to be tied.
Woo, that's some good shit right there. Now, how would you categorize your style as a wrestler? Because there's many, categorizations, if you will. And, there's the brawler and the mat technician and the high flyer and such. And there's the hybrid and all of that. Do you think you could put yourself in a classification of a wrestler?
I've always prided myself into the fact that I can pretty much do almost anything, but I do limit myself when it comes to the high flying stuff. I'll leave my feet if I have to, but you're not going to see me doing any 450s anytime soon. I'm not a small I'm not a small person.
um, and I would really totally be remiss if I never asked you, because of the presence that you do have when you come out of the curtain. We spoke of the mask. We spoke of the coat, your gear. Could you give us a little breakdown of that? Does any of that represent anything specific? Who is the gear maker? Because we like to bring the gear makers to surface as well on the show.
Okay, so presently, the gear maker that I used before doesn't make gear anymore.
Okay.
Jenny from Las Vegas, she used to run Z's Creations. I had all of my gear made by her. And then basically now I'm running in torn up jeans that I've painted myself, and I've always been an artist and stuff like that. So I've poured a little bit more of myself into what I do. So
Okay. Now the jacket and the mask, where does this come from?
So I'm a huge horror fan, and like I was saying before, the character kind of was at a point where I had gotten committed, and I escaped. But I was like, why don't I skin my doctor alive? So the mask that I wear is my doctor's face.
Shut up! Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Oh my god, what a fun factoid that is.
Yeah.
Woo, that's good. I'm sorry, I get excited at that. I'm sorry.
Apologize.
That's actually amazing. I love that concept. And take us further into the jacket if you could.
So the jacket I used to have had a bunch of skin on it. I had an ear over my heart so you could listen to your heart. I had I had fingers on the shoulders, and then I had a huge face on the back. And I mean, there was really nothing behind it except for it was creepy, and I enjoyed the process of going through making it and stuff like that. And it looked really cool, and it got people looking. So
It does. The aesthetic, again, that presence when you walk through the curtain, my man. There's an aesthetic about Mike Graça that really, bam, because a lot of the guys that are maybe really good looking, they have the long flowing hair and they're very pretty and they don't know how to stand out. So they grab some pink and silver tights or something to try to stand out, or you know what I'm saying? This is not that. This is very, very, boys and girls. If you do not know, we're going to give that at the very tail end of this. You're going to look up Mike Graça, and it's very unique flavor that you've never seen before. So seeing that come out, again, that's what caught my eye. And then the way you presented yourself in ring, I'm all about this character. I'm all about Mike Graça. I love the mind eraser thing. And that's how I latched on. I To bring it to really a point is you're doing your job correctly by grasping the fans and making that connection that we spoke of way at the beginning of this.
yes, that's my number one goal. I just want to reel people in and make them watch. if they remember one thing from the show, and it's, oh, that's that crazy green haired dude.
You know, that's just another thing. I don't even care if people don't remember my name, as long as they grasp onto something that my look or what I've done through the evening. Exactly. That's all I care about. As long as they're bringing me home with them, you know. And you guys and girls, I've spoke about this a lot too. Not only do the fans take stuff with them home on the drive back, you'd be like, holy shit, Graça jumped off of this or blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm talking to my dad or whatever. You guys and girls do the same stuff doing your drives home and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, memories especially. I mean, not much on, like, I've been through a lot of different tables and stuff like that. I've never taken like a piece of anything home, but obviously if, say, a worker that I haven't seen in a while comes to a show doing, and I want to trade a shirt or something. So I have shirts from people from all over the east side of the country, west side, Canada. I mean,
That's
I've
awesome.
been a few places. So yeah.
That's very cool. Now, usually I bring these to a tail end with a couple things. One is just a small little story, if we can maybe get that out of you. And two is getting all of the deets of the social medias and all of that, so we can get the fans to check you out, maybe get some new eyes on you, check out some stuff. So I'll lead with, I know you guys and girls, you drive a lot, you're on the road. Sometimes you're by yourself, but a lot of times you're with the boys. And could you please, if you could, share us a road story? And it doesn't. Yes, look at him. Yes, boys and girls, that's what we like as a reaction.
Oh man.
You can go through your data banks. If it's illegal, if it's legal, if it's whimsical, if it's heartwarming, whatever you want to choose, it does not matter, because we just love story time when it's that I love these stories. So if you could, sir, you gave quite the smile. So I think you might have one or two in mind that surface to the top of the Mind Eraser's brain there. Could you please share with us?
The first one that comes to mind is probably one of my favorite ones, and it happened when I was 19, so it was pretty early on. I wrestled for a UFO, which is runs out of Boston, Somerville. We were doing a show at the Somerville Armory over there, and I was riding with JT Dunn. I'm pretty sure you know who that is.
Oh yeah.
So we did the show. I teamed with Tony Atlas on the show, which was crazy. After the show, we were looking for food, and we couldn't really find anything because it's 11:30, 12 o'clock. So we look on our phones, and we find, oh, there's a bar down the street. No, I told you my age already. I'm 19.
19.
Can't do anything. So we're like, we're going to go try it out anyway. So we drive to this bar, and people that were with us walk in, and then JT walks in, and he stops me in this like little causeway before, because there's a door, a little like foyer, and then a door to go into the bar. He stops me in the foyer and turns around and says, "What do you got, kid?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do I got?" He says, "How are you gonna get into this bar? You're only 19." I'm like, and then I said to him, "Eu não falo inglês." And I didn't speak English the whole time I was there.
Shut up.
We walked in, and they were like, "Okay, ID." And then JT immediately was just like, "Oh, he's my friend from Portugal, and he forgot his credentials at the apartment. He's just visiting." And they bought it. And we got in, and they were feeding me sodas the whole the whole time that we were there. And then we noticed that the kitchen was closed, so we didn't get food. But fans that were at the show were there, and they were all sloshed. So they all came up to us. They were like, "What's going on?" And then one of the dudes, who's like completely gone, like when I say gone, I mean gone, comes up to us and says, "Do you guys want food?" And me and JT look at each other. We're like, yeah, sure." So we go back to this dude's house in the middle of like South Boston, and it's like snowing out, and the streets are all narrow. We park on the side of a side road, and we had to walk like almost a mile to get to this dude's apartment because there's no parking. There was like banned parking, like the parking ban on the side of the roads. So we get into this dude's place, and we're waiting for the food. We're relaxing, and then the food finally gets there. JT and I think it was Slick Wagner Brown was there.
Oh my God.
we go downstairs, we grab this food, and We looked at the receipt, and I shit you not, man. It was $300 worth of Chinese food. This drunk guy just threw $300 of Chinese food. And I wish I had this picture just ready and waiting, but we laid it out on this dude's coffee table. This dude's coffee table was about the size of a full-size mattress. The coffee table in his living room was full. And this coffee table was filled edge to edge. All like little white Chinese food cartons. And
oh my god!
feasted. I mean, we ate so much Chinese, and all these people are so drunk. I'm sitting here in the corner like a 19-year-old kid, like, what the hell's going on? I don't know. And we stayed there maybe like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then we went home.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
You, JT, and then you capped it off with Slick Wagner Brown. Are you shitting me?
Yeah. He was there too. I know Mark Sherman was there as well.
Such a fine story, my man. That is a unique story.
Yeah.
I have not heard anything like that yet.
It was something.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem, man. I like telling stories like that, and it's just I have a few of them because I'm not one to toot my own horn. I'm pretty humble, but at the same time, I've been all over the east side of the country for wrestling. I've wrestled in Canada. I've wrestled countless amounts of people, and I have a lot of those stories. So it's been a good time.
I mean, we are an hour and 6 minutes. I don't have any specific runtime. And I mean, if you can maybe hang out for another 5 minutes or so,
Yeah.
if you would like to share anything that really comes off the top of your head, may it be a memory in a different country or state or whatever you've got going on. I mean, please, we are here for you. This is your platform, I'm in.
Okay, so I'll give you one more.
Sure.
So yeah, NCW. I don't know if Northeast Championship Wrestling.
Yep.
NCW. We were doing a show at the Woonsocket High School, Woonsocket, Rhode Island, Woonsocket High School, and we go there. And do you know who Steven the Turtle Weiner is?
Of course I do.
Very, very, very dear friend of mine, and I used to live with him, so he's a very, very genuine, probably the most genuine person I ever met in my life. I still hold him dear to my heart to this day. He's Turtle. He's the best. So we get to the venue, and Turtle comes in behind us. We didn't see him. He scares the shit out of JT, and then turns around and says, "Hi, Mikey. How are you?" And I'm like, "What's going on, Turtle?" And he had just gotten surgery the day before, and he was there, and he's like, "You guys want to see a scar?" So he just pulls up his shirt, and it's this scar, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa!" And it was crazy. JT got all pale faced and was like, "Put it away." And then Mike McCarthy walks on the side, and he does the same thing to Mike McCarthy. He's like, "Oh, come on, put it away." So yeah, he must have caught like 5 or 6 people with that, and yeah, just a little snippet there. Yeah, Steve Turtle, awesome.
These are the things that you take with you, though. So it sometimes the talent will be like, it's really not that much of a story. They're all great stories because they're memories from your memories, and I absolutely thank you so much for sharing that stuff. I mean, I would never imagine Steve the Turtle be whipping up his stuff and showing like scars and whatnot. Like, he's hardcore. Steve's hardcore.
He's the man. I love Steve. I love Steve so much.
Is there any topics that we haven't spoken upon that you'd like to bring to the table? Because we've talked a lot of topics here, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered it.
It was an absolute pleasure having you, spending your time, because now that wrestling's back, everybody's schedule is starting to really pick up and whatnot. And I cannot thank you enough for like setting some time aside on your schedule to sit down, talk to us, open up a little bit, have some laughs. We talked about so many different things, and I cannot thank you enough for spending the time with us, my man.
Thank you, man. This has been a really good experience. If you ever want to have me back on the show, please, I'll come back anytime, really.
Of course, you might get sick of my face, but we will definitely have a return of the Mind Eraser. Are you shitting me? Of course we would. Before I do let you go, though, let's give the old details, the YouTubes, the Pornhub if you got one. Whatever you got, please give us the fans the deets so we can find the Mind Eraser.
All right. So I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I have the Mind Eraser MG. So Mind Eraser and then my initials, so MG, are my handles on both of those.
Okay.
Facebook, I'm just Mike Graça. So, and that's a blend of my personal and wrestling life. I really don't have two Facebooks for two different things. It's kind of, I promote everything on one profile. So, I mean, I add fans on there too, so it's okay.
Is there a YouTube where we can maybe see footage? And I know RWA has theirs. And when we speak RWA, boys and girls, Renegade Wrestling Alliance.
Yes.
So is that where we could find probably some footage of Mike Graça?
Like 10 years worth of footage, yeah. Yeah.
No Pornhub to promote or nothing?
No Pornhub, no.
Oh,
Nope.
Okay. Hey.
None of that, no.
You got. You never know. You got to ask these things. Boys and girls, this has been exactly what I would want out of this. It was a great last STP of 2021, and it was with the Mind Eraser, Mike Graça. I've been wanting to talk to this guy for a long time. He's intrigued me for a while since I've seen him. We've never really spoken at the shows. I knew who he was, and I think he knew a little bit of who I was. And reaching out, I was like a kid asking a girl out for the first time. I was nervous as fuck. But when he gave the return of yes, let's do this, I was so stoked. And we've had an amazing hour, 12 minutes, 16 seconds with the Mind Eraser, Mike Graça. With everything that we've talked about tonight, Merry Christmas to everybody, Mr. Graça, your family, everybody. It's been an absolute crazy, mind-altering, life-changing past 2 years, if you will, since March of 2020. And that's when I started doing the Skypes, STPs. And this will be episode 302, 303, something like that.
Wow.
Woo! Like I said, I was busy a little bit. We did 5 weeks nonstop, my man, every single day, 7 days a week, 25 interviews an average in a week. And we were going crazy. I did 115 interviews in 5 weeks.
That's crazy.
Thinking back, it gives me a heart attack. Man, we have had such a great time. And with everything I've said tonight, this is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid. And my very special guest, the Mind Eraser, Mike Graça. Thank you so much for spending your time with us on STP.
Thank you, man. I had a great time. I hope I'm come back.